Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of Overrated. Today we're going to be talking about Enter the Gungeon. So about 20 years ago in the late 1990s, a game called Robotron 64 came out for the Xbox, right? Right, Bowser? You don't like that joke? That's a pretty stupid joke, huh? You didn't deserve that. The thing about it was that I never actually owned the game. My friend that lived down the street from me did, so I'd run down to his place and play it whenever I could. The problem was that I ended up getting so addicted to the game that I figured out how to break in through their back door so that I could keep playing it on the days even when nobody was even at their house. Probably shouldn't have done that, huh? Yeah. But it really did teach me how to love the twin-stick shooter genre. Technically, it's impossible for an N64 game to be a twin-stick shooter, huh? Suffice it to say that Enter the Gungeon's been on my radar for quite some time, and hearing about how patch after patch kept making the game better over time, I finally bit the bullet and bought it during its latest sale. Many of you are uninterested in me as a person, so I'm gonna stop telling stories about myself starting now. Like we always do to see if a game's overrated or not, we're gonna take the 5 different parts of the game: the story, the characters, the music, the visuals, and the gameplay, and rank them from the worst to the best. After that, we're gonna give an overall score of the game and compare it to the scores that it gets online. So here it is, our review of Enter the Gungeon. In last place is the story. It makes sense to me to rank it behind everything else because 99.9% of the time you're playing this game, you're not really gonna be thinking about the story. You're pretty much too busy getting boned by these tiny little a-holes to be thinking about much else anyways. No! I gotta say though that I do love how immediately crazy it gets. Right when you start the game, a few lines of expository text set the stage for some insane plot of an intergalactic alien planet that holds the Gungeon. And without really doing much to explain all of this stuff that they throw at the player, it goes on to tell of a gun that resides deep within the fortress that can kill the past. What does this mean? Why are all the characters so desperate to get a hold of this gun that can change their past? Will I ever be able to beat this game to figure all this out? The answer to that last question is probably no. But the story gives the player just enough to hook us in, and now I'm praying for the day when I reach the end of it and finally figure out what's going on here. Apparently, there's more than one ending too. So I asked around and learned that one of the endings is pretty much impossible to get. According to other sources, the other ending is also impossible to get. Things are looking pretty grim for me. But the Castlevania-esque intro is just enough to keep me interested, even if it doesn't give me all that much to hang on to. It feels right to put the story in last place. In fourth place is the music. So I was pretty much ready to place the music at the top of the list when I first started the game. It starts with this pounding synth track that plays through the opening exposition and slides perfectly into the title screen with this chorus of determined but almost melancholic vocals cutting right into it. The more I got into the game though, the more I found myself not really feeling the music as much as I was the rest of everything else it had going on. A lot of it feels like it could have been ripped right out of a Dance with the Dead album or someone like that, which don't get me wrong is pretty awesome, but I felt like it wasn't as big a team player as the other parts of the game when it came to establishing its personality. The soundtrack for Enter the Gungeon is the one part of it that I feel like I've more or less seen or heard before in a lot of other places, and after a little while I started tuning it out almost entirely just because it didn't really seem to do all that much to demand my attention. I do have to say though, the sound design of this game is absolutely stellar. It brings the game another nice immersive layer of atmosphere. Each gun that you can find, all of the enemies, and even the environment bring a lot of cool noises into the mix. So while the game's overall audio experience didn't bring anything exactly new to the table, it's all still pretty well done. The characters come in at third place. So aside from their adorable designs, it's so cute. I thought that the characters actually brought a lot of cool functionality to the game as well. Each of the 4 main playable characters, and I guess there are a couple secret characters that I have yet to unlock, but they're all different enough from each other to bring each playthrough a small breath of fresh air, but they're also really well balanced too. My best run that I ever had actually happened with the Convict, who I had always thought was the character that I played the worst with. But she was like bang, boom, pow, and I almost made it to the 4th floor. Yeah, you're probably laughing now, but I would have put that at the top of my resume if I had done it. This game's freaking hard, okay? Instead of growing stronger through the typical RPG style of progress, what helps the most is saving the NPCs that are imprisoned throughout the Gungeon. And the more of them that you save from behind bars, the more likely you'll be to run across one of them who can help you out on your way through. On the other side, every single enemy in the game is a legitimate threat to end a run, and you have to take them as seriously as I should probably be taking my student loan debt. Every time you get hit, your chance of success goes down exponentially, and getting killed by one of these tiny dudes is enough to make me want to headbutt myself in the face. It drives me insane. I do think a few more details about each character would have been nice to have, especially the playable guys. For some reason, these roguelike titles all seem intent to keep everything obscure and mysterious, which I actually think hurts the game more than anything. Knowing more about what's going on and who you're playing as is another little motivational boost to keep you going along with them. I just don't know anything about anyone here, which ultimately makes them much less interesting to me. In second place are the visuals. While the pixel artwork isn't the absolute best I've ever seen in a game, the personality they bring to the game is just so good. The whole gun aesthetic and theme is pretty cartoony, and the characters and even a lot of the enemy models are just adorable. But it's also just barely threatening enough to keep you feeling uneasy about it all. And more than just looking good, the game makes sure that everything you need to be able to see pops right off of the screen, while the rest stays out of your way. When a game is all about the challenge, anything that makes it even slightly unfair is enough to infuriate players into quitting. Enter the Gungeon doesn't give you that excuse. It just folds its arm, sits back with a smile on its face, knowing you'll be back again for some more high velocity but fairly administered spanking. Another cool thing about the visuals is the massive design for each item and gun that you can pick up. I really like how much focus was placed on all the details of each gun that you can find. But maybe my favorite thing about the game's visuals are the bullet hell section's projectile patterns. They're mesmerizing and beautiful to the point of being distracting. And instead of dodging them, I'm too preoccupied just looking at them spread out and spiral around, and I just end up taking the hit like the masochistic casual that I am. Of course, first place has to go to the gameplay. It's super addicting games like this that stop me from ever taking hard drugs, because just like this game, I'd probably never be able to beat them. I've come to terms with the fact that I'm probably never gonna see the end of this game, and in a way, I'm almost kinda glad. I'll always have an awesome game to keep coming back to, getting a little bit better until I pass out from dehydration and die on the ground of some old person's home when I'm 90. I really don't think I'm gonna be beating it before then. I've already developed a pretty dire case of what I'm gonna call Gungeon shoulder, which is kind of like tennis elbow, but instead of hurting yourself while at least participating in healthy activities, you mostly just feel twice as bad about your self-destructive habits. My left arm gets so tense while playing this game because of how crucial every single moment is. The arm that controls the character's movement is constantly flexed, way beyond what my feeble muscles are used to. Just stretch it out, nah. Just stretch it out. But don't let this game fool you. It's not about super speed and fast-paced action. In my experience, it's much more about patience, tactics, learning slowly how each enemy and boss fights, and then methodically plotting out your course inch by inch, room by room, without ever losing an ounce of focus. Though I do guess your reaction time does have to be near miraculously fast at times. According to the experts I've approached about it, I've learned that even if I do by some divine intervention beat Enter the Gungeon, the correct course of action is just to start again and see if we can get an even better run next time. Maybe the reason we play these kinds of games isn't necessarily to reach the end of them, but to prove before our maker that we can indeed overcome the weaknesses of the natural man. Each victory standing as a testament to when we, the lowly mortal, dared to face our gods and demons alike in an unthinkable act of defiance and emerged victorious. Or maybe we just play this game because we hate ourselves. I'm thinking it really could be either at this point. If that's you, then I can totally recommend Enter the Gungeon. It does everything it needs to do pretty well, and while parts of it could have been improved or been a better contributor to the game's overall identity, there's nothing that's outright bad about it. Between all the scores that we could find for the game online, it came out to an 80 out of 100. Our score for the game came out to an 81, so we have to say that Enter the Gungeon is just about perfectly rated. And good enough to pick up if it looks like something you'd be into, or if you're already a fan of challenging twin-stick shooters. Go for it. Hey, thanks for watching. How would you rank the game's different parts, or the game overall? We'd like to know. And as always, feel free to leave any suggestions of games you want us to play in the future in the comments below. Oh, and also, we stream on Twitch, so if you want to hang out and talk some more there, that'd be cool too. And remember to go say something mean about us somewhere on the internet. See you next time.